What's going on, guys? I am back cooking in the kitchen, and today I'm gonna rewind it back to ingredients that you can use to season all the food that you are making. So you've probably heard me talk about sofrito before when I'm making rice, because that's what I use it most for, is to season rice. And when you look at the origin of what sofrito is, for me, I first heard about it when I started cooking Puerto Rican food. But every Latin culture and also like European cultures have their own form of sofrito. So that's a fun fact I found out when I was researching a little bit. So if you were to go to Italy, they use completely different ingredients in theirs, but they still call it something similar. It's spelled a little bit differently. The French have their own version, and it also varies a little bit between like Caribbean culture. So Puerto Rican is a little bit different than Cuban, Colombian, Dominican. Like they all have their own little spin on how they do it. And then it also varies again within a household. So the way that I make mine might not be the way that another family who cooks Puerto Rican food makes theirs. So I'm going to show you my way and the way that I've been doing it for years. You can also buy sofrito, but it's not as good. You can buy it either in the jar, like Goya sells a red, which is a tomato base, and they also have a green one. And then they also have like one that they store in the freezer. I wish I had the old containers, I would show you. But when you make it yourself, it's always fresh. It's always amazing. It freezes really well, which is what I do. I'm gonna make a really big batch here, and then I'll separate it into like smaller little containers here, and I'll just throw them in the freezer. This beautiful tray full of all these things that are gonna go in our sofrito. The first thing that's like kind of an odd ingredient that I never really heard of, and I've only ever used it to make sofrito, I've never used it in anything else, is culantro. So this is spelled Culantro. It is not cilantro. They are like cousins, but they're different. So this one has less of a bitter taste and is more like sweet and mild. Smells really good. And then cilantro is the opposite of that. So we have culantro, cilantro, and then we're also going to use green onion, and you can use white onion too, but this is just the way that I've always done it, is with the green onion, and lots and lots and lots of garlic. So this, I've already peeled all of it and made it nice and beautiful, and I'm going to do a couple extra here just to show you guys how I do that. So we have the green onion, the culantro, the cilantro, and then peppers. So I've used this time I'm only using green peppers. It really just depends. Sometimes if I see like those sweet mixed bag peppers, like the small little sweet peppers, I'll use those like if they're on sale. If the stoplight peppers are all on sale, you know, when you get like the orange, the yellow, the red, the green, like all, you know, you can really any color. These are just what happened to be on sale when I went to the store, and I couldn't like justify spending another $1 per pepper. Just it's pretty colors. So do whatever you want, and if you want to add other things to your sofrito, then you can. But this is how I'm going to do mine. So I'm going to show you real quick the fastest, easiest way to peel garlic, because we don't want the shell, we don't want the seed. This is a lot. This is about 2 to 3 bulbs of garlic, or heads, I guess. So all you do is just, you peel it apart from the head, and then you're gonna set it on your cutting board, and then you just give it like a good whack. So you just smash it just like that, or you can push down this way. Yeah, see, that one needs a smash too. It's a big one. I prefer the bigger bulbs just because there's less to actually have to go through and peel. But peeling garlic is actually really good for your nails. So once you smashed it, it's gonna kind of look like this. But that's okay, because it's not a beauty contest, because we're gonna blend it all up. If you have a food processor, then that is the preferred method to blend this, just because you can leave it a little bit more chunky. I do not have a food processor, so I'm going to use my NutriBullet. Since the NutriBullet is small, and obviously all of this is not gonna fit in there at the same time, what we're gonna do is, I have this big giant bowl right here. What I do is I just do it in batches, and I throw it all in the same bowl, and then I give it a really good mix. And then from there, I'll put it into my separate little containers and freeze it. So These guys are peeling pretty well. And then I do take off that little top part, that little like nubby, I don't even know what you call it. It's like where it's connected. I do take that part off. Maybe you don't have to, but I just do. And then we get rid of all that. So I use a different cutting board for onions and garlic. I use this smaller one because if you've ever tried to like cut up an orange after you cut up onion and garlic on the same cutting board, you find that it really doesn't taste that good because your orange starts to taste like onion. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm gonna take the top of here, and what I do is I take and I mix the herbs and the wet stuff too. So I know you wouldn't think of like a green pepper as being wet, but it does have a lot more water than say like, you know, the green onion or the cilantro. So I'm just gonna cut these down here. And get rid of that part. Oh, I don't have my big bowl. Usually I do that Rachel Ray trick with a little trash bowl. That's all right, I'll just stick it in my sink for now. And then I'm not gonna use any of the white part of my pepper or the seeds. Reason being is that the white part of the pepper tends to have a little more bitterness than the rest of it. So I just pull that off there. And nothing has to be pretty, which is really nice because all you're trying to do is just quickly slice through and rough chop these so that way they'll fit into whatever it is that you're using to blend them up. If you have a food processor, you can obviously fit much bigger chunks, but that is not the case today. I haven't really come across too many things that I would use a food processor for. Cauliflower, when I was like super keto, I did want one so that way I could make like cauliflower rice, but that was the only time that I really wanted it, so I couldn't really justify it again. And I do have a Ninja, and I also have this Magic Bullet, which I use all the time. I try not to get too gadgety, but as you guys know, I got that Instapot, and that was very rare for me to go with any type of like kitchen appliance because I just like the basics. All right, so again, we're gonna take out the big white chunks on the inside because sometimes those can be pretty bitter and we don't want any bitterness. So what I really like about Sofrito, besides the fact that it like stores and keeps really well, is that you can add a lot of really fresh flavor to your meal without having to like chop stuff every single time. And I go through it pretty fast in my household. So like, you know, one tub of the Sofrito in my fridge will maybe last like 1 to 2 weeks based on the amount of rice that I make and stuff like that. Makes it super simple. So I'm just gonna tear these up a little bit more. And then I'm gonna use these. So I'm gonna put in the cilantro. I'm just gonna cut off the bottom part of the stems, and then I'm gonna break it up a little bit. So the way that blenders and like food processors and stuff work is that you want the wet ingredients closer to the blade. So what I do is just put whatever herbs I'm gonna use in the bottom portion. I'll probably stop there because if you overfill, sometimes it can be a bit much. So I'm going to take a handful of the green peppers because those are going to liquefy a little bit faster. And then we'll throw those in, and then it's going to get nice and loud. Let's see if I plug that in. I sure did. So I have the green peppers and cilantro in here. And look at how little amount that actually ended up making. So then we're just gonna dump it in here. You wanna make sure that all the herbs are nice and blended. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. And I'm gonna throw some garlic in here too. Everything is gonna end up mixed together, because we're going to use it all. A little more garlic. And we're going to blend it all up in the bowl. So everything will work just fine. Now, this recipe is already up on my website. If you go to www.olivetims.com and check out the website, you can download a PDF copy, so you won't even have to wait for it. You don't have to wait for me to write it up because it's already on there, and then I'll just link this video later on. Let's see, throw some more garlic in there. It's starting to smell real good. And then with the scallions, all I'm gonna do is cut off that bottom part where the root is. And then we want all the rest. So this recipe goes a little bit lighter on the onions, but if you really love onions, you can always do a little more. Just keep in mind that you really want the cilantro and the garlic flavor to come out a little more than the rest. So you just have to adjust a little bit. I know it gets really exciting to just like blend everything up, and like the possibilities are endless, but you kind of want to keep it under control so at least it tastes good when it happens. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's definitely worth, you know, like not purchasing an extra appliance just to do one thing. Oh my gosh, it smells so good in here. See, everyone's gonna come home and they're gonna think I've been cooking all day long. They're gonna get really excited. Sorry, guys. I actually don't know what I'm making for dinner. So now that we're getting to the cilantro, all I do is just rough cut like the bottom of it. You don't have to be too like crazy, it's fine. If there's some stem in there, it's not a big deal. Throw a little more pepper in. Let's throw some more of these guys in there. So the question is if your culture does sofrito. I would love to know like how they do there. So comment below if you have some sofrito in your life and you use it, and if it's different than mine, I'd love to hear it. Or even if just your household does theirs different. There's really no wrong way. We are loading up. And it's funny, every one of them, even though everything's green, let me see if I can show you guys. Each dump that I make is like a different color. You have like dark green, light green, celery green. Let's throw these. Okay, so the culantro, that one that I showed you in the beginning, you have to find that usually at a specialty store. Like most of these other ingredients, well, all the other ingredients you can get at any grocery store, but the culantro, you have to go to like a Latin market. They're not gonna have it at a regular one. And it usually is like right in the same section as cilantro because that's what you use it mainly for. I don't know of any other uses, but I know it's definitely in sofrito. So wherever you find the cilantro and the other mixings to make this, you'll probably find the culantro in a Latin market. Also, what they do there, if I would have known better, I bought like the big bulbs to cut up myself because that's the way I've always done. But when I went to go pick up the culantro today, they had like big containers like this filled with garlic that's already peeled and like ready to go for like $3. I could have saved myself a lot of time, but I was not about to repurchase it because then stuff goes bad. And we don't want that. All right. Almost done. is done. I have one more to go, and then I will show you the finished product. Okay, last one. Get everything in there. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but Deacon is in my room watching a movie, and just loud, like la 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 la. You can hear it. Oh, he just turned it down. He heard me talking about him. All right. So now I have to grab a spoon and a ladle. All right, so if you can see, we got a pretty big bowl full. Oh my God, look how amazing that looks. So you just want to incorporate it really well, stir it up really good, because we did some garlic, like more garlic in the beginning. You want everything to have some. Now, if you want to, you can also do this so that way it's like rougher chopped and not so pureed. The Ninja Bullet, or whatever it's called, NutriBullet, it just like so happens to puree it really well, and that's what I use, so that's what I did. But you can certainly, if you're using a food processor, you can leave it like more rough chopped, and then you'll have like more texture to it. It really doesn't matter. So then all I do is throw it in here. You can also do this in ice cube trays if you're not going to be using that often. So if you were to make a batch of this, and you can by all means like make smaller batches, I just figure why. If you want to do smaller batches and you want to use ice cube trays, so you can do it individually, each ice cube would be like about a tablespoon. So if you're adding this to like the rice recipe that I've done with you guys for the rice cooker, you would add like maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons. I just go by pour, but I like a little bit more because I really like my rice seasoned up quite a bit. And then like this is like an old salsa container. Don't use stuff that you then are going to use for something else. Like I have specific Tupperware or plastic containers that I use just for that because otherwise they can taste like onion and garlic if you go to use them for something else. So I left about 1 inch. If you look here at the top, I left about 1 inch, and then I just will stick the lid on because sometimes things can expand a little bit. There is water in that. And then I'll just pop them in the freezer, and like I said, they will just hang out in there until it's time to use them. One of these will go right in the fridge because I don't currently have any, and that's what I went to go buy the stuff for it because I'm out. All right, and that is it, guys. Super simple. Go to my website, www.olivetims.com. Wait, this side. And you can download the recipe, PDF versions. And yeah, let me know how you make yours. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day.